Hello, friends. Good morning. This is Alexi Bailey, and I'm your host of the Tell It Like It Is podcast. I have a very special guest today, Marnie, from the creator of Runstreet. How are you, Marnie?
Good. How are you?
All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited for this conversation.
Yeah, me too. It's nice to connect. I know, it's been a while with COVID and everything. We all get busy and separated.
How has it been for you, COVID?
Um, it's been, up and down, but I'm lucky I haven't had COVID and stuff. So yeah, it's been all right.
So I know you're the organizer of Runstreet. Can you tell us a little more about it?
Yeah, sure. So Runstreet started as a blog, and my background's in journalism and writing, and I was writing for other people, and I thought, oh, I should write for my own blog. So I started Runstreet in 2010, and then I started as a running group in Brooklyn in, gosh, probably like 2014, and then I started doing art runs in 2015 or 2016. And the art runs are fun 5K runs where we do a tour of street art in different neighborhoods.
So Runstreet initially was writing about running.
Yeah. So initially it was a blog where I'm a running coach, and I actually got certified because I wanted my writing to have more credibility for like training articles and stuff. And I've been running my whole life, but I thought by becoming a running coach, I'd have more, credibility. And I started writing like training. I did some early like YouTube videos on workouts and stuff. And then I wanted to create like a more diverse, I guess, blog and place for runners, because at the time it was mostly just Runner's World like for the main gathering place for runners, I guess.
How was your impact?
I think it's been pretty good. Like I moved to New York. I started the blog when I was in St. Louis, and I moved to New York in 2012, and I got really busy, so I didn't blog for a while, but then I started getting busy with the running group and the actual events and stuff. And then with COVID, I had a lot more time, so I worked on the blog a lot more, and I think it's been pretty good. Like it keeps growing, and then I do a newsletter to like a Wellness Wednesday newsletter, and so people, if they read the blog, they can subscribe. And yeah, I think it's been fun. I like writing and I like running, so it's pretty good.
So what's your full time currently?
So Runstreet's full time. I also train people as a running coach, and then I also got certified during COVID as a trainer. So I do like personal training and stuff like that. And then Runstreet, the art runs, and then I offer some training through Runstreet too.
Now I've done a couple of the art runs and they've been really nice. You get a nice mixed group.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been really fun. It was a great way to meet people.
And what's the feedback you've been getting?
Um, it's been really good. I think especially like in Chicago and New York, it's been really great in big cities that have a lot of art, and it's been cool to be able to do stuff in other cities too. So I have some people in Chicago who lead art runs there, and we also do runs throughout the year. Sometimes we have like different charitable causes, and that's been really cool to give back to different neighborhoods and communities. And then it's just a lot of fun. I think originally I started it because I just wanted something fun for runners besides like the super serious running groups that meet, 7 a.m. on Saturdays and stuff like that. And I thought this will be something more beginner friendly, but it could be all levels. And yeah, it's been really fun, I think.
Yeah, I could testify to some of the serious, intense running groups in New York City. Sometimes it feels like they're training for the Olympics.
I know sometimes it's like, okay, keep it in perspective, because most of us are doing it for health and for fun. So it's good to have a break from, the marathon training or the other stuff.
What was your initial experience? Like, can you talk about some of your initial experiences when you started running in New York?
Yeah, I did some races in Central Park and I had fun. I didn't know anyone. I moved to New York just on my own, and it was a great way to meet people. Through my Runstreet Instagram, I started meeting people, and sometimes people would recognize me, I guess, from the Instagram at races. But I think I felt like there was this very like kind of type A thing, like you were saying, where there's a lot of serious runners. So I thought, yeah, it would be fun to do something for more beginning runners and just like to give another option, because for me, I'm someone who gets bored easily, and I kind of got tired of the same races. And like, I like Central Park, but I don't always want to, do races or stuff in Central Park. So I thought this would be fun to see other neighborhoods, and also learn about the art, and the inspiration from the art is a good element. I think that we don't a lot of times we don't stop and actually look at stuff when we're running. So
How long has Run Street been on Instagram?
I think, gosh, probably 2014 or 20, yeah, probably 2014, I think is when I started it.
And in my experience, I think Instagram has changed a lot from 2014,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
I feel like I was on Instagram in 2014, and I feel like it was so much easier to just kind of like connect with runners and just like, hey, I know you from Instagram, or hey, I met you on Instagram. And now I feel like the dynamic on Instagram has just shifted. Like it's not as easy.
Right. I think so too. I think it's with like the algorithm, and now that Facebook owns it, I think it's very much like kind of like they want you to get ads to reach more people. And so it's harder to reach new people. And I think some people also just got burned out, like in general, after 2020. I think people were just burned out on a lot of stuff for a while. So I don't know. I think it changed too. Yeah.
So is someone else in charge of the running in Chicago?
Yeah, so I have Laura there. She's kind of like the regional leader, and then she does a lot of the planning and stuff. And then Tom is our local art expert, and he's like a encyclopedia of street art knowledge. He knows so much about the different street art. And so those two are the main people in Chicago.
So you're mentioning the street art is like that has changed a lot too. At one point, graffiti in the 80s was like this big criminal thing. Now it's almost celebrated.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that is different. There's a lot now where it's like commission murals, and people see it. You see more street artists in museums and having like solo shows and stuff like that. So I think it's still a range. Like there's still definitely a lot of graffiti, and like in New York, we still see a lot, and some stuff that's very political, and some that's just like the old style of lettering and stuff where it's almost like its own code. So yeah, I think that's still a big variety, but it has changed a lot for artists who do it as like it's legal when it's commissioned. I think that's a lot more common than it used to be.
So do you research the routes? Do you research the artists? Like how do you
Yeah, I do. I research a lot. I used to find a lot through Instagram, and a lot of them put their Instagram tag on the murals, and so then I would research them that way and their websites from the Instagram. And then also, I just was moving around a lot when I first got to New York, and actually for a long time I moved around, and so I kind of got to know different neighborhoods and different artists and stuff. And then it's really cool, I think, when you travel and then you also see some of the New York artists like around the world, and they have murals. And it's also cool to see how many artists come to New York and come from other countries and stuff, and they come to paint and do these big murals. So I think that's a really cool thing that's unique about New York, is people come from all over just to paint here.
I met you in 2015 and I was really impressed because you were very open and willing to collaborate. I really liked your energy. So it was easy for me to think about you for this.
Oh, thanks. Well, I appreciate it. I think it's really cool what you're doing too. I love podcasts, and I think it's a great way to reach people, you know.
Yeah, and I think there's a space now where we need to have more conversations. What would you say is the underlying structure for your Runstreet coaching?
For my coaching, it's mostly, I guess it depends on the client's goals, but I try to carry over some stuff like from the art run, like give people a lot of attention and personalize it, and be realistic too. I want people to be healthy, so, and like feel good, and not have goals that are like going to be too, you know, unhealthy. Or sometimes like I might have people who are like, oh, I'm on this diet, or I'm not eating this and that, and it's like I'm trying to get people to more using some more moderation, but also, you know, challenging and making progress. But I want people to be healthy too. I had a lot of experience, like when I ran cross country and track in college, a lot of people had eating disorders and stuff. So I try to be mindful of that, and not like, you know, feeding into like, oh, you have to be thin, or just about numbers. Also focus on how people feel, and like their overall mission, and like what gives them purpose with their workouts.
Was that a passion for you, coaching, and how did you get from, what did you study in school?
I studied English. So I was creative writing major, which is, you know, then you end up doing, I was a bartender. I've had so many jobs. Um, but yeah, I think coaching, I like it because I love people. I like interacting like one-on-one and helping people get motivated. I used to think that I probably wouldn't be great for coaching because I'm not like a drill sergeant person, and people respond well to different trainers. And then I realized that there are a lot of people who appreciate training that's a little more, you know, like not as in your face, and like I'm not like scaring people. But yeah, I do like to help people a lot, and I like to share my advice because I feel like I could talk about running and fitness forever. I could just, you know, go on and on about it. So
Yeah, so I think for me, running gave me a lot of community. And that's been one of the sticking things for me in running. Instead of, running by myself around the neighborhood or at the gym, the running community was always, people in my age group, like-minded, open-minded people who wanted to socialize. So when I started doing races, I was like, oh, wow, there's a lot of people like me here. I initially just started because I wanted to run a marathon, and I was impressed by the how many of my peers were there and community.
yeah, that's really cool. And I think it's great in New York, like with the marathon being so big, it's such a big like community event, and it feels like the whole city is supportive of it.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be the runner I am today if I wasn't in New York. I think it definitely kept me motivated. Like, it's been 10 years now. I ran my first marathon in 2012,
Wow.
and I'm sorry, 2013, but ran my first race in 2012. And
Oh, wow.
it's just been like, it just kept wanting me to come back. I kept wanting to go back. The first race, there's like 9,000 other people there. And,
Mhm.
just everyone wants to talk about running, and, you want to get better for next time and those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's really cool. That's impressive too, to do a marathon in like your first year of running.
Yeah, I did. I was in really good shape before I started running races. And that's where I just came up with this idea, like, hey, what if I run a marathon? And I tried the lottery twice and I didn't get in. So I said, let me do this 9+1. And I started 9+1 in 2012 to run the race in 2013.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Where did you grow up, Marnie?
I grew up in St. Louis.
What's it like in St. Louis?
It's pretty It's pretty medium about a lot of stuff. So I grew up in the suburbs, and I feel like it's similar to a lot of suburbs. But I like the Midwest. I mean, I grew up playing outside a lot and like with dogs and running around, and I think it was a good place for sports. So I think that doing like what you were saying with running, it's a great community, and I think doing track and cross country in school, it gave me like a good community, and it helped keep me focused during, the weird times of being a teenager and stuff like that. And yeah, but I love New York too, and I love the energy, and that all the people here, I think, is what makes New York so great, is all the people.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to school at Knox College in Illinois. It's in the cornfields. It's a small liberal arts school, like between Chicago and St. Louis.
Okay, okay. So most of the students came from those two places?
Yeah, a lot from Chicago.
Yeah, so you have some roots in Chicago now, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I also did a semester of research at the Newberry Library in Chicago. So that was cool. I really like Chicago too.
Got it. So was it a no-brainer, New York? How did you make that decision?
I came here on a journalism field trip my senior year of college, and I was just overwhelmed, like just looking up. I remember thinking, oh my gosh, there's so many buildings, like you can't see. I'd never seen that before, like where you can't see the sky. And then it was the energy. And my journalism professor was a great mentor, and she was from New York. And so she was still here half the year. And I think that's what inspired me and made me want to move to New York, because I got hooked on something about the energy.
So the Tell It Like It Is podcast, it's really a chance for the guests to kind of talk about the way they see the world and how they're inspired to move in it. You have a journalism background, so you think a lot about these things.
Yeah.
What's your overall overarching philosophy? How do you see this experience we call life?
Um, I think that for my life, I feel like I want to connect people and bring people together. So I think that running is a great way to do that, in fitness. And I think that there's been a lot of changes, like you said, with like Instagram and within running and stuff. And that I think it's good that there's more visibility and like more diversity, and that I feel like the fitness world is it gives me hope. Like I feel like we're making progress with running. So I guess that's a general view.
Yeah, you said progress and gives you hope. So I mean, I think that 30, 40 years ago, um, long distance running was you saw less people of color, less women, and now we're seeing more and more diversity, more and more of all ages, ability levels, and it's getting more mixed. I'm assuming that's what you mean.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I think that like when I started my blog, and it's nothing against Runner's World. I think they've changed with the times some too. But at the time it was like all like skinny white people, mostly white men, and they would be like on the covers, they'd be the experts, they would be in the articles. And I just thought like, oh, I want to offer women more visibility and chances. And like, and I used to work at a women's magazine a long time ago, and it was it was supposed to be fitness, but sorry, but I felt like it wasn't as good of workouts as like I would find in the men's magazines and stuff. And so I think it's good that we can evolve, and that now like I can teach women weightlifting and stuff, and it's not so many stigmas, and that more women have voices, and people are using running for social change. And so it's also a good way to bring people together, I think, because like the country is very divided, people are very divided, and I think running is something that's kind of, it's like neutral, and people from all different backgrounds can run. And so yeah, I guess that's about it. And I think something like the New York Marathon, it brings out the great side of people, because you really see like any person can be a hero when they're running the marathon. And I think that's something really cool. And with the spirit of New York and all the people who come here from other countries, like you really see the diversity and different sizes and shapes of runners and colors and ages. And I think that's something really cool. And so seeing that reflected more in the media is good too, like more podcasts, more social media by people who are different than, you know, like the old white guys who used to be the main ones.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree. I think, I think we were always there and we were always doing the things. So it's good to be recognized. It's good to have more diverse platforms. I think the runners world has, a lot of people have critiqued runners world for that, and I'm sure they're trying. But I think it's interesting. I think that whole dynamic is interesting because, I think we've gotten so used to seeing the same type of faces on everything, right? When it's women's products, you see like the same kind of demographic, right? So it's almost like it's just gotten to this generic point. And I think there were decades when we weren't questioning it. And I think now we're more seeking representation.
Yeah, I think so too.
Right. And that's a key for empowerment, and if you're talking about social justice, these things it kind of snowballs, right? If you want social justice, then you want representation, you want to be seen, all of these kinds of things.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of social justice in running, those kinds of things. Can you talk about, assuming someone who's not a part of the running community, can you talk about what you've seen in terms of social justice and running?
Yeah, I've seen stuff like with the Ahmaud Arbery shooting. There were so many runners who were posting in protests of, so you have a Black man who was shot, who was out on a run, he did nothing wrong. And, it's just this horrible thing that outraged the running community. And so a lot of people were posting, and, I think everyone was aware of, like, during the summer of 2020, there were so many people posting about Black Lives Matter and stuff. And I think what would be great to see and what is hopeful to see is like when people like form organizations or they raise money for causes and stuff, like where it's like takes the next step beyond the posting. So I think, yeah, I forget what I'm sorry, I forget where I was starting from with that, but I think that it's been good to see, more diversity, and also more diversity in the LGBT community. And people, like, we do a Pride art run every year, and we raise money for a local LGBTQ health center in New York, and is providing healthcare to low income and LGBT New Yorkers. And I think it's great to be able to like get involved like that, or however people can help. And it's also frustrating at times. I think during all the summer of 2020 with a lot of police brutality and stuff, it was very frustrating. It was hard to know what to do. And sometimes like it just feels like, well, gosh, what's this gonna do, posting or whatever. I did an Instagram fundraiser for a cause with like Black social justice against police brutality or something. It didn't do that well. And then, but I thought like, maybe this is not the way for me to make a difference, like maybe there's things I could do that would make a better difference. And so I guess it's a challenge. It's a challenge to all of us to see how we can be more inclusive and make an impact without kind of just being the keyboard warrior or whatever, like just feeling like we're posting.
I think every little bit counts, right? And I think when someone sees you doing a fundraiser, it also sends the message to them to like, hey, I'm doing something, I'm doing what I can. And I think it sends the message to them that, hey, maybe I can do something too. So the impact of your fundraiser is not just how much money you raise, it's just the visibility of actually doing the fundraiser, I think, too. That also raises awareness. You know, there's this quote that says, if you wondered what you would do during the Holocaust, you know, look at what you're doing now. Like this kind of, to say like now is the same exact time, and whatever you're doing now is probably what you would have did then. Yeah, so yeah, I definitely don't have all the answers either, you know, but I'm very passionate about it. And I do think that running does have a special place where, you know, I did Runners United NYC, and I always loved the idea of the diversity and groups coming together. Not just going to a homogeneous group of your peers, but to be in diversity group and learn from others and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think and running's a great way to do that, because I think it's like an easy way for people to relate to each other and talk about stuff, you know.
What was the name of that LGBT health center?
It's called Callan Lord Health Center.
Where is it?
So it's in Chelsea, and now they also have one in Brooklyn.
Do you know what they focus on?
They focus on mostly health. So like they have full health clinic and services for LGBTQ people mostly, and they have different like mental health services, physical health. They have HIV/AIDS clinic and stuff like that.
Just like for people who don't have health insurance, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So ideally, there's something you could be doing. What do you think? Like, what would you like to be doing, or if you could?
As far as like social movements,
Yeah,
or
with your running and your organization.
I guess I would like to continue to grow and build an organization. Like Runstreet itself, we don't have a big team, but it is very diverse. So I would like to continue to like give people opportunities and chances to share their perspective. And also through the blog, I interview people for the blog, and I would like to share. I promote a lot of local artists and stuff, and I try to especially do women and people of color, because I feel like those artists are overlooked a lot, and they might not get as many opportunities and like big visible deals and stuff. So I think those are things that I can do that I could expand on, and I know that, yeah, I guess those would be a start.
Yeah, keep sharing, you know, definitely. I want to see more of your posts and see what you have going on. From a business perspective, what have you learned to turn what you're doing into a successful business?
Um, I guess I've learned to take feedback more from people. So like to try to gather feedback after I do something to get input like, oh, this was great, or this wasn't great, or this could be improved. And also I learned the importance of reliability. So like if you're going to do something, then just keeping your word and stuff, like, because I feel like with business and stuff, sometimes, you know, just being professional, I guess, has been helpful. And sometimes it's surprising the amount of people who might be kind of flaky or, you know, not super professional, and that can hurt opportunities a lot.
I got you. So this is 2022, January. Do you have did you set your intentions for the year?
Yeah, I guess I didn't formally set a goal, but I have some goals that I'm working on. So I guess, and since it's 2022, then yeah, I'm working on a book that I've been writing, and also with the training and stuff, I'm working on more ways to reach people virtually, because I feel like the art runs, we're still having art runs, and we will in the spring, but it's been a challenge with COVID to have smaller events and, you know, like not as reliable, because that's unfortunately something we can't always be reliable about, is if the restrictions change, or if, you know, the variants pop up and stuff like that. So I guess reaching more people virtually.
Gotcha. Tell me a little bit about your book.
Um, it's still kind of early stages, but it's how to do home workouts and get fit in a small space. So it's something that I have a lot of experience with from my small Brooklyn apartment. And I just want to help people so that they can be safe and do, their workouts at home, and also hopefully have some fun and yeah, that's mainly it.
Okay, we definitely need that. We always need something to keep us encouraged and motivated.
That's good. Yeah.
Are you doing races this year?
Yeah, I'm doing the NYC half marathon, and I'm not sure after that, but that's my next race.
And what about marathons?
I'm not sure. My friend Jose, he does the St. Louis Marathon every year, and I might do that with him. But I'm trying to figure out my travel, like if I'm gonna go back. I think it's in April, so I got to figure that out
It's
pretty
such a,
soon.
it's such a luxury where you can just like, yeah, it's April, maybe I'll do it and I'll just log on and just pay for it and I'll just go run. Like in New York City, that's not even like a thing.
Oh yeah, I know, because it's like it's not a full marathon, so like you could just sign up easily. Yeah, I would love to do. I've done the New York Marathon, but I've only done it once, so I
What
don't
year
know.
was that?
That was 2014.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
So are marathons a priority for you or not really? Or
not really. I kind of like more middle distance running than long distance, but yeah, I do every year. The marathon's so exciting in New York, and I coach people who are doing it and stuff, but I almost feel like I'm vicariously running through them because they're doing it. But yeah, I don't do a lot of marathons.
so is that like middle distance is what distance?
Like half marathon, mostly 10K, half marathon, 10 miles, something like that.
Got it. How many marathons have you done?
Only the New York marathon,
So
so
you've
just
done one
one.
marathon. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right. All right. Marnie, tell me if there's answer this. If people knew this about you, they would understand you better. Fill in the blank.
Okay. Oh, that's a hard one. I guess one thing in my personal life is I sometimes get anxiety, like social anxiety, and sometimes I feel like people might take that the wrong way, or they might think that I'm like not friendly or something, but sometimes I'm like anxious and I don't always notice, people around me or stuff like that, or sometimes I get anxious and I avoid doing events or things. But luckily, Runstreet has helped me a lot with that too. So doing our events was something that I had to commit to since I would be leading the event. So that's something that's helped me a lot. But sometimes I still do get the anxiety at big events.
So you more like a one-on-one, not like a big group.
Right. Yeah.
So have you stayed away from growing Run Street? Like how do you like in terms of Run Street, the group?
Um, I grew it. I think it was actually really good. Like we had just expanded to LA before COVID. So it's kind of just been a kind of regrouping of stuff. But yeah, I'm sure there's probably some things that I avoided that I probably should have done. But
So what's your strategic vision for Run Street? Because you're saying you have a Chicago chapter, an LA chapter. Like what's your vision?
um, I see it. I would like to expand to offer more of our Daydream Festival, which is like a big art run that has live art and painting and food and music and stuff. And I would like to, we've done it in New York and Chicago. I would like to expand to LA too. And hopefully, with COVID and stuff, that it's still, this would be doable. So it's something that's been
You say the name
kind of
again?
a Daydream Festival.
Daydream.
Yeah.
So there's a Daydream Festival in New York.
Yeah, yeah.
What month is that in?
Well, we did it in May before, and then we did it in Brooklyn, and then the next year we did it in Chicago, and then we were planning it in both, and then COVID hit. So now we're kind of, yeah, we'll see, I'll see how it goes.
Got
But
it.
that's something that I would love to do. And I feel like having more of the art side of it involved is really a cool, unique experience that helps the runners connect more with the art, and it also helps the artists, where we employ artists and they can do painting at the event and create stuff for the event. So yeah, that's something I would love to do more of.
Got it. Outside of Runstreet, are you doing any other projects?
Um, just the writing, and I'm also taking a creative writing class and working on just a creative project. And then I guess those are, and then I do a lot with like my dog. Like I love pets, and since the pandemic, I guess everyone's habits have shifted some. So like now I do more hiking and long walks, and I still run and stuff, but I also do more weightlifting. And then yeah, more, I guess, and more listening to podcasts. So I'll be listening to your podcast, and and a lot of reading too. I've been reading a lot of books.
What kind of dog do you have?
And Akita,
What's his name?
Kiyoshi. I think she's right in front of me. I would try to, she's sleeping, but she's very big and furry.
Okay. Okay. What kind of podcasts do you listen to?
I listen to a lot of nonfiction podcasts, like business podcasts, true crime. Listen to the New York Times podcast, and then probably my favorite podcast is Hidden Brain, and it's kind of psychology, and it goes into the reasons behind like why people do stuff and what makes people act certain ways. And yeah, I guess those are the main ones.
Yeah, so yeah, I think for me at the core of why I do what I do in terms of the podcast is it's A, to get to know people better, and B, to just help the listener think more critically about things and open them up to conversations that they may or may not be having, to have it more intentionally. I think there's so much happening in the world, and I think most of us are silent consumers of that. And
Mhm.
I'm more like well, what do you think about this? Let's talk about this. What do you know? And for some people, I guess some of them, because of their work, they don't want to like talk about anything.
Mhm.
And I think it's interesting. I think it's empowering for them to hear other people talk about it, which can help them find their voice.
Mhm.
And I think that's key to us. I think right now the world is I think we've been in a state of needing healing. And like we
Right.
talked about with more diversity and representation, is I think there is a movement towards diversity and inclusion. So I think
Mhm.
that work is happening. And a part of my fear is that it happens more in the commerce side. Like there is a benefit for Runstreet to include people of color, because the brands want those people to buy their stuff. Like
Mm.
it's not just because they want to heal America and they believe in social justice. There's a bottom line, to catch this. Nike wants to reach this demographic, so they're gonna hire Colin Kaepernick for their commercial. It's not because they really care about what Kaepernick stands for. It's to show Black people that, hey, you can still buy Nike. We're not, totally white elitist.
Mhm.
So I think we have to have those conversations more honestly, and we have to kind of find our way out of this thing and create the future that we want.
And how do you see running playing into that?
Well, like I said, you know, all of these brands that I kind of feel like they want us, they want people of color to continue to support them, right?
Mhm.
And so they're going to include us in the commercials. But I think we have to hold them accountable for more than just, you know, what they are doing. So we have to speak with our dollars, right? Whether
Right.
that means supporting a runner's a NYRR event or not, you know, or the shoe we buy, you know, the shirt we wear. So when we're running, we have to make sure that all of our actions line up with a bigger vision. So everything we do in running should be a part of something. And when you meet someone in running and you're connecting with people in running, you should be having that conversation so that you're on the same wavelength.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Um, yeah, let's take that quick break really quick.
Okay. Okay.